Hey, I'm John Reeves III. I'm the founder of Garage Mike. This is my wife Naomi, and today we're going to be doing a review of the Ergatta Water Rower. We like a lot of the features that it has compared to other rowers that we've used in the past. When Ergatta reached out to us to do the review, I didn't have any experience with rowers other than the Concept 2 and then some of these old rowers that they used to have in the gyms, because when I worked in a public gym, we had rowing machines there. But even then, I think they were just your standard, like there wasn't anything special about them. This is something different. What's been your experience with rowers before this one?
Really just the Concept 2 has been my experience with a rowing type machine. I mean, other than like with the two handle kind of
Oh yeah,
like old school one, but nothing like a proper rower has always been Concept 2.
All right, so this is both of our first experience with a water rower. You can put it together yourself. It's going to take you probably about 30-40 minutes, maybe a little less time if you have somebody helping you. But they offer a service to bring it fully assembled. And so while we normally will assemble stuff ourselves, I said, well, let's give it a shot, because we like to put ourselves in the shoes of other people, of you guys. And we went ahead and said, all right, well, bring it to me fully assembled.
We like this because they were able to schedule the delivery while I was at work and when John was available. So it was really convenient. Now let's talk about the hardware.
Okay. They made me nervous when the delivery service contacted me, because they told me to make sure that there was at least 8 feet available to set up the machine, but I'm happy to say that it fits in our home gym pretty well. It is tall when it is stored in an upright position, but that's not a problem with our ceiling here in the garage.
And I think the whole reason for asking for the 8 feet is actually the specs of this machine. In use is actually 7 feet by 2 feet wide. So maybe he was concerned about for plug-in purposes or just for wall or being able to walk around.
When it's plugged in, there's a plug that's in the front, and when it's plugged in, you can still walk past in front of whoever's on the rower without any problem. So I really like that. So it's surprisingly compact, in my opinion, when you do store it, because it stores upright. This tablet can break and this arm will fall. So the first thing I liked is that they told me, okay, you want to flip this up, pull that out. Oh, don't do that. Flip this up, comes down, and then you're able to pull this back. There's some wheels in the front, and it stores in upright position. So if you have a small apartment, you can very easily put this in the corner to store it, especially because of how good it looks.
This is actually cherry wood, so it looks like furniture.
To me, this is the one piece of equipment in our home gym that you could have in the living room and nobody would say, oh, what is that? You know, it wouldn't look out of place. It wouldn't ruin the decor. So I was able to use it without my feet in the stirrups, and with my feet in the stirrups, it's really comfortable. The seat is comfortable. And that is really cool, because this rower is designed for somebody to be as tall as, I believe you said 6'8".
6'8".
6'8". So if you are a larger person who maybe not have liked other rowers that you've tried, this rower will work very, very well for your height. And I'm definitely not 6'8", and I didn't have any problems using it either.
Also has a maximum weight of 500 pounds. They do sell the high-rise, which will go ahead and add an additional 8 inches to your Ergatta height-wise. For individuals that are, 6 foot and above, it's probably what helps kind of raise it up from the ground to make them be able to get.
Or if you've got a bad knee or hip issues or whatever,
like
you don't want to get down that low, the high-rise comes and meets you halfway, so to speak. Again, the high-rise is an option that you can select when you order the Ergatta.
But you don't have to get it if you don't want to.
You don't have to get it if you don't want to. They talk to you about how much water to put in here. You may have the temptation, if you set this up yourself, to fill it too high. And actually, you don't want to do that. There's a little marker. You want to make sure that you don't go past 17. It's because this is set up to mimic sculling. So your oars, if you're sculling, are going to go just at the surface of the water. This isn't actually rowing like it's digging into the water. And so if you have too much water in here, it's actually going to not work the way the machine is supposed to work. So that is an important point that you need to think about. You don't want to overfill this tank. But other than that, once you fill it up, it's very, very user-friendly. It came with a kit to keep the water in the tank from going bad. I was concerned about that. And this isn't watertight. It's not, what am I trying to say here? Like, the water will evaporate. So periodically you do need to check your water level.
It is sealed, so that it
Yeah,
does say on
it's
there.
sealed. It's not going to spill out, but it will evaporate.
But it does have just 2 times a year. You would go ahead and they give you a tablet. It's a purification tablet, so that way it prevents any algae or any of that slime.
Yeah, you don't want it to look like an old fish tank.
So it, or represent you actually being on a pond.
Yeah.
So
that's disgusting.
they do send you a kit, and it's like a siphon kit. But yes, you would only use the purification tablet 2 times a year.
Okay, let's talk about the software and the setup process.
Techie me liked the screen. You can have up to 15 profiles on one account.
Which is great because it means that you and I can have separate profiles that keep track of each of our stats and our preferences individually.
I mean, you went ahead and you put your information, like your name, your email address. You can set it up whether you want notifications or not. You can set up how often you want to be able to work out. It'll actually send you notifications and reminders for if you say 2 times a week or 3 times a week, etc. It does have a setup for number 1 to go over your style for rowing. Make sure that you're following within the certain patterns for effective rowing. Yeah. But then also it calibrates it for you as well.
They also said, hey, make sure that you underestimate the level of difficulty that you think you'll need. Because you can always increase the intensity if you need to, but you don't want to get yourself in a situation when you're calibrating it where you're going to kind of be in over your head, so to speak. There is a membership that you need to purchase, but once you purchase your membership, and I think you have the option of just paying for it annually, but then you can also pay month to month as well.
Yes.
So this screen right here that we just showed you is a 17.3-inch HD touchscreen. It's Bluetooth and Apple Watch compatible, yes?
Yes, in addition to that, not just with the Apple Watch that it pairs with it, but also for those that use Strava as an app to keep track of their mileage, as well as their health. They can use Strava. It is compatible with that. You can also Bluetooth your headphones, which again, Inner Geek was able to do that, as well as a heart rate monitor.
And those headphones are a big deal because this thing has a playlist.
It gives you 9 different stations, from everything from mid-level to high energy to your top 40, and even some classics like your hip hops.
Okay, let's talk about what we liked. For me, the number one thing that I liked was how quiet the Ergatta is compared to something like the Concept 2. Don't take my word for it. Check out these 2 clips of me rowing, first on the Concept 2 and then on the Ergatta, so you can hear for yourself. Okay, it's fairly obvious that the Ergatta is much quieter than the Concept 2. So it's a much better option if you have young children and you want to work out after you put them down for a nap, for example.
What if you live in an apartment? Some apartments have really thin walls and you don't want to disturb your neighbors. Because again, if in an apartment, you have neighbors either above you or below you.
When I heard Run DMC playing on this, I knew that we were kindred spirits, me and whoever designed the playlist.
It definitely helps out with cardio options.
And you like the fact that it lets you compete with other people. You've got your rivals, whether they know that you're their rival or not. It lets you compete against other people either live or you can compete against other people's established scores.
There was actually a new game known as Echo. So with Echo, you have to basically keep your pattern as well as your SPM to meet, and as long as it hits that stabilization bar is when it lets you know to be able to pull. And if you're even off just a little bit, that's a no-go. So of course, if you're even slightly competitive, you want that good, and then you get that streak. And so I did not want to let that streak go below 50. And then also it takes you to the different levels too. So again, that adds to the challenge, and you have to make sure you're in proper form to be able to hit those patterns. And it also looks good. It's very high end with the cherry wood.
I can picture something that looks like this being in a studio apartment, and it wouldn't look out of place with your other furniture because it looks nice and sleek. I really like the fact that this is a rower that will help improve your rowing technique. It's kind of like having an instructor right there with you.
In fact, there's an iOS app known as Coach AI that gives form feedback for the Ergatta. The other thing that I like is that Sometimes if you're short on time, you can go ahead and if you only have maybe 5 minutes, 5 minutes, it's
a sprint.
It's a sprint, or it's an exercise snack. Do 5, go back to what you're doing, come back to do another 5, so that way at least you're getting that time in.
Now, nothing's perfect, so let's talk about what we didn't like. I wasn't as huge a fan of the games as Naomi was. For me, the graphics just didn't hit. I'm into more animated style, character-based game graphics, so I just wasn't feeling this style. And for me, the open road videos could be a little more interesting. They just seem like watching a video of water. But I could also see how that could be relaxing for some people.
I didn't like the high rise. I know it doesn't bother you, but I didn't like the fact that I felt unstable in the high rise. Also, it is difficult when you're picking
compared to being on the ground.
Compared to being on the basic unit and on the ground. Yes, absolutely. The other thing is the high rise legs make it difficult to pick it up when trying to put it away to store it.
Another thing that I wish was an available option is a quick start. The Ergatta seems like it would be great for beginners because of all the features and how you can calibrate it to individual users. But I think there needs to be a quick start option that lets you skip the tutorial and get right to using the rower. I don't mind it keeping track of your individual progress over time, but I would have loved it if there was a quick start so you could, let's say you already have a lot of experience with indoor rowing, you can just jump right into using it. But let's go ahead and wrap up with our final thoughts.
This is another option for me to kind of, change out my cardio options. Also, like when it's to flush out legs after I have a leg day, I like it. I'll be using it a lot more often.
And I think that this is, like I said, a great product. I enjoy using rowing whenever it's like the day after I've deadlifted, just to get some blood back into those, blood flowing in and out of those muscles. And because it is quiet, a lot of times because of our schedules, we do have to train when the rest of the house is asleep. And I love the fact that we can do it without disturbing anyone else. So overall, I would say that this is a good purchase. If you're looking for a water rower that's got some additional features, I don't think you can go wrong with the Ergatta. The link to check this out, find out more information, is in the description for this video. If you have any specific questions about this unit that you'd like for us to address, we'll go ahead and if you will drop those in the comments, we will answer your questions, and we will also include that information in our follow-up video, which is going to be coming within the next 3 months after we've had more time to play with this. But until then, appreciate you watching.